Hey y'all, so today we're going to talk about a topic that I've been waiting to talk about for quite a while, and that is, are shoulder rigs dangerous? A lot of people probably know one of my favorite shoulder rigs of all time is the Cowboy Jackass rig, which carries the gun in kind of a downward cant, but mostly, kind of like a horizontal style. And every once in a while, the thing I will get, whether it be a question or a statement, is that dangerous? Or people will tell me it's dangerous because the muzzle of the gun is pointed out and not down. And, what am I thinking about as far as flagging people? It's a good question, but it's something I really don't worry about. I'm going to explain why. So basically, flagging, when people are referring to flagging, they're referring to the fact that the barrel of the gun is or could have the potential to be pointed at someone, someone in your vicinity. And obviously that's not good. You don't want to point a loaded firearm at someone. But in this instance, it's something I refer to as passive flagging. And passive flagging is basically means my hands are not on the firearm. The firearm is in its holster, completely covered and protected. The trigger guard is protected, the safety is engaged. The firearm cannot be fired from this position. It's basically just sitting there in storage. And again, some people worry about that because I've had people say basically that they worry, well, if the gun goes off accidentally, it could hit someone. Well, if this gun or any firearm you're carrying decides to go off somehow without the trigger being pulled or something like that, that firearm company's probably not going to be in business that much longer because someone's getting sued. So I don't really worry about that for a couple reasons. One, again, modern firearms and pretty much all firearms, for the last however long have been very safe. No issues. There is basically a 0% chance of this going off like this. One, trigger is covered, safety is engaged, and I know some guns don't have safeties, but at the end of the day, the thing that makes the gun go off is covered. There's absolutely no way for anything to get in there and pull the trigger. The gun is safe. That's why we carry decent holsters, because it keeps the firearm protected and, it doesn't go off when it's not supposed to, as long as you keep this off of the trigger. The other thing is, once you actually start paying attention, passive flagging is a pretty common thing when carrying. Again, this is probably a little more obvious because, people see it directly, but think about it. Just about every carry method, at some point in time, depending upon your situation, the barrel of gun could be pointed at a person. Perfect example is, I know a lot of people like pocket carry. I pocket carry as well. I got news for you. You might think, oh, well, it's in my pocket. The barrel is pointed down. It's, pointed at the floor. Two things. One, if the floor is not bulletproof and you're on the second story, you could be flagging people through the floor, which, again, it might sound a little bit crazy, but I'm just trying to make a point. The other thing is, and this is a little more obvious, if you are sitting at a table across from someone, well, obviously you're sitting down, so your pockets are now pointed in a much more horizontal direction. If someone's sitting directly across from you, you could in fact be flagging them with the muzzle. Again, not stuff that we think about a lot, but that's, what happens. Again, if you're carrying, strong side, something like this, again, muzzle pointed down, but depending upon the angle of your body, you could flag someone. And again, if you're on the second floor, well, guess what? There are people below you. You could be flagging someone. Not that big a deal, not something to worry about, but I'm just trying to put in context the fact that passive flagging happens much more than we ever think about. And it's not really that big a deal because firearms are designed to be safe and they don't go off unless they are intended to go off. Appendix carry is a really good example. Appendix carry, there are a lot of people that are really against appendix carry. I'm kind of back and forth. I really don't like pointing a gun at my junk, but I agree in certain situations. And again, proper trigger control is very important with any carry method. In certain situations, it has its place, but you're flagging yourself, and again, you're flagging other people depending upon the angle of your body. So when people ask me about worrying about, flagging people with carrying with a horizontal style shoulder rig rather than a vertical where the barrel will be pointed down, it doesn't really bother me that much. The key thing is, again, proper trigger control, know what is around you, situation awareness, all that. And at the end of the day, you're not fiddling with this. I put this on, and usually it's underneath the sweatshirt. I just have it on top of the sweatshirt for today's video. No one knows it. You know, like obviously no one wants to have a barrel of a gun pointed at them. And that's literally, I've had that comment made to me. People have said, well, I wouldn't want to be walking behind you and see the barrel of a gun pointing at you. Well, in that instance, I would say, well, don't open carry, because, you know, I'm not a big fan of open carry. But two, they don't really know it's happening. And the old phrase, you know, what you don't know won't hurt you. Well, in this instance, I think this applies. You know, again, I've carried shoulder rigs like this one and this one for many, many years. And well, I've never had the gun go off. I've never had the gun almost go off. I've never had any type of issue where, you know, anyone was in any more danger than, you know, daily life. So, you know, again, this is just kind of my thoughts on worrying about passive flagging and if shoulder rigs are dangerous. My answer to that is no. I do not believe. I believe if you get a decent quality shoulder rig, such as this is, you know, again, Galco Jackass, really good top quality shoulder rig, highly recommend Galco for their shoulder rigs. They do a real nice job. So if you get a good quality shoulder rig that is designed for the firearm in particular, not one of those universal weird ones, but you know, this in particular is designed specifically for my 1911. It fits very snug, covers up the entire area of the gun that you got to worry about, you know, trigger safety and all that, and it works quite well. So am I worried? No. Again, not worried at all about passive flagging. You know, it's just a part of everyday life, and it's just, you know, again, when you practice proper firearm safety, it becomes a non-issue. So that's just kind of my thoughts on the whole deal. Again, put down below. I know that some people are real controversial about this. You know, and like I said, you know, passive flagging, while it doesn't necessarily be a big deal for me, I can understand some people might get a little upset by that, but once you start thinking about it, it happens a lot more than we ever know, and doesn't really be that big a deal. So that's my thoughts. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and have a good day.